Angela Rayner has unleashed a new raid on Brits' pockets with millions of people to be hit by council tax rises up to 10%. 6 struggling councils, which together serve more than 2 million people, have been granted permission to increase council tax beyond the established annual threshold of 5%. Ms. Rayner has allowed Bradford Council to increase the levy by a further 5%, while Windsor and Maidenhead Council and Newham Council can all hike bills by 4%. The remaining councils, Birmingham, Somerset, and Trafford, have been granted a further 2.5% uplift beyond the threshold. Seeking to justify the move, Ms. Rayner said in a written statement, "These are difficult decisions that government has not taken lightly. We recognise the importance of limited increases in helping to prevent these councils falling further into financial distress, but we have been clear this must be balanced with the interests of taxpayers." She said the government has agreed to a limited number of requests for council tax rises and in all cases have not agreed to the full amount sought. Ms. Rayner said, "Where we have agreed, it is only for councils with amongst the lowest levels of council tax, and where we expect, even after these increases, residents will still be paying less than the average compared with similar councils." The Secretary of State for Housing, Communities and Local Government confirmed that despite the increases, the overall national rise in council tax is not expected to exceed last year's 5.1%. Local authorities will have access to more than £69 billion in funding this year, which represents a 6.8% increase in cash terms compared with 2024-25. The settlement provides more than £2 billion in direct grant funding above revenue received from council tax, with no council experiencing a reduction in core spending power. Elliot Keck, head of campaigns at the Taxpayers Alliance think tank, said, "Taxpayers will be expecting to see immediate results from the inflation-busting tax hikes that they're being subjected to. Every year residents are being hit with ever higher bills, only to see depressingly little improvement in their local area." Analysis by the Taxpayers Alliance shared with The Telegraph found bills for the average Band D home in 21 areas look set to exceed £2,500 if councils increase their levy by the maximum. Bills will be more than £5,000 for the most expensive Band H houses, according to the think tank. Next comes Nottingham City Council on £2,656 and then Dorset on £2,622. Bristol is set to be fourth on £2,584 followed by Newark and Sherwood, with an anticipated council tax bill of £2,582. Ms. Rayner's settlement with local authorities includes more than £2 billion in direct grant funding. Billions has also been allocated to social care on top of millions towards helping councils manage the impact of Labour's increases to employer national insurance contributions. Here is a summary of internet users' reactions. I read that 30% of council tax goes to top up council employees' pensions. Daily Mail October 2018. So yes, a Band D for instance £2,000, £600 goes to pay someone's pension. This needs to stop. No wonder councils are going bust. Also all public sector pensions are costing the economy past, now, and in the future trillions. We could privatize these. We cannot keep paying politicians and all the rest of the public sector trillions. This can't keep going on. One thing that has been ignored is that councils' incomes have been reduced by the lack of ratepayers in our high streets and industrial estates. As shops and businesses continue to close and be boarded up, so the council's income will shrink and we householders have to pick up the bill. It all goes back to politicians in Westminster, Cardiff, Edinburgh and Belfast not being up to the job. Instead of encouraging new businesses to set up and keep small businesses going in our town centres, this lot are doing all they can to bring them down. Losses all round. Jobs gone equals loss of NI and on-income tax. Shops and businesses gone equals council tax and income tax gone. So they just keep piling on more and more tax. Recipe for disaster and proof they haven't a clue what they're doing. Our water bill has just risen by £200, and that hits even the poorest in our area. A council tax rise might be the final straw for many. Think of those single parents on the border between benefits and supporting themselves in poverty, scrabbling up the steep muddy slope towards an income where they don't have to work 15 hours a day to live reasonably. This could thrust them back to the bottom, back to cold or hungry on benefits, with children. These Labour ministers seem to have a very deep visceral hatred of those on the lowest rungs of the incomes ladder. There's video evidence of Starmer saying he wouldn't raise it by a single penny. I guess he will say he's right. He didn't introduce a 1p rise but a £400+ rise for many people. If the councils were run as a business and went bust, then a restructuring would be needed via an outside administrator and excessive salaries would be long gone and a new pension scheme would be implemented. The old would frozen for those retired and no new enrollments and finally incorporated into the new pension when the headcount numbers are reduced. That's the problem and it's outgrowing its income. This has been happening in Labour-run Wales for a few years. My council tax in Denbighshire rose by 10% last year, probably the same or more this year. No consultation is necessary, they can do as they please. Why does most of the country pay a lot more council tax than London boroughs? We in the North East pay £500 more a year than Westminster, and just look at the services they have: trains, buses, libraries and free museums. We have bugger all here. I need to get a bus to the nearest train station which cost me £3 each way, then a train journey into the nearest city, which are mainly C4 up here. There is literally none up north and we pay a bloody fortune for it. So much for 4.99% without a consultation/local referendum. Try cutting cost instead. Hartley polls published figures show 69% of council tax goes on adult and children's services. Don't tell me a budget as big as it has on waste or potential cuts. No incompetent, or failing, council should have to be bailed out by the government or by the taxpayer. It is called free market economics, and they should live and die by the same rules as anyone else. They have willingly wasted good taxpayers' money, earned by citizens and companies in their locale and across the country, that should have been used to run the council for the benefit of the people only. All the councillors and senior management at the failing council should be thoroughly investigated and be criminally and civilly prosecuted where appropriate. All their assets should be seized and sold to pay back their ill-gotten gains for all their lack of care and mismanagement of public funds. The amount recovered should also include any costs for police time, prosecution costs, jail time, and any amount outstanding on release from any prison sentence should be recovered via an attachment to earnings and/or benefits order. They should also be banned from owning, running or managing any other business for life. I wonder just how much these council tax rises goes towards topping up pension liabilities and payment of management bonuses and not resulting in improvements to services. Any council which is underperforming should not be paying bonuses or any other incentives to anyone employed by them. If people are paying more and there is no improvement in services, then the additional money has to be going somewhere, doesn't it? Given the disastrous state of the nation, ravaged by Brexit, inequality, austerity, pandemic, this is only to be expected. Whenever Labour try to change things, removing tax loopholes for millionaire farmers and private schools or cancelling freebies for OAPs or reversing Brexit, the right-wingers protest. Where do they think the money to fix these things is going to come from? A magic money tree? I support Labour and think they will fix Brexit broken Britain. Rayner cannot help her Eve, it's almost sad. She uses the sadness of envy, one of the 7 deadly sins. Envy for people who have worked so hard for an education, to buy homes and to make them places of safety and nurturing for their children. People who despise big intrusive we know best government intruding into every facet of our lives. The fact sheer hard work has given the ordinary decent people the ability to buy their homes means nought to her. These are the first she attacks when fast bucks need to be made to fund the crisis over the intruders, which is clear and present. Rayner dislikes private property ownership for the working and middle-class people. She also dislikes the fat cats, but good luck with that one, Ange. She wants it all owned by a Labour government to dole out to who they feel fit, and we all know what that means. They have already started the land grab off the farmers, as Bill and Melinda Gates and their ilk are doing in the States. It's called the UN Project 2030, and Labour are low-end underlings doing more than their bit. But the welcome spanner in their works is the new POTUS Trump. Do your simple research.